welcome back to the channel. Today we have a lot of Citadel news, patch notes, patch news, console delay, and some tips for console players. So we'll get started with the first thing, which is what I promised in the description, a tip for console players. This is an inside tip. Well, not really, but if you would have read the patch notes, you would know that tier 3 turrets are now going to cost more to upgrade. So upgrade now to your tier 3 turrets until the patch hits. That way you're not paying double down the road. So just grind a little bit now and you're going to save down the road. That, I guess, I don't mind saying that just for the simple fact that if you're playing the game right now, while we're in a low point of population, then I think you deserve a little bit of inside news. All right, so we'll just get started. Console delay. It is technically a delay. They didn't necessarily give us a hard date. They said a couple weeks from the PC patch. Well, the PC patch is getting rolled out into 2 patches. So it's still going to be a couple more weeks from now. So probably early March is what it's looking like. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed, but you have to understand that with this type of game, well, with any game really, you make your changes on PC first, which presents itself to Windows, because it's all about the operating system, right? So it presents itself to Windows. Then you have to make whatever changes you need to make for the console version. So in this example for PlayStation, which is what I play on, that patch has to present itself to the PlayStation operating system, which reads instructions differently than Windows does. And as far as Xbox, I'm not sure, but I'm assuming it would be something similar. So it takes a little bit longer, and with a team of about 10 people, it takes longer than you're typically used to waiting for console patches to get rolled out. So I just want to say that. A few things I'm going to talk about a lot in this video. So please stick around if you want. You can just listen, you can watch, whatever. Before I get into the nitty gritty, I pulled a few snips from Discord. So a couple of the things people were doing prior to this patch to what I call, people would argue with me. I call it cheesing. Some people wouldn't call it cheesing, but in order to raid a base, these certain methods would be used. One is the stacking of area of effect healing. If you get like 3 people all doing AoE healing, which I believe is called Sanctuary, then your party is pretty much invulnerable no matter how many turrets or whatever's hitting you. There's nothing that can stop you. That's been patched or is going to be patched in its entirety. Another thing is people were using ice shields, and I've done it myself, but honestly I only did it on this base that was built in the mesh I was trying to wipe. People will use ice shield to stop turrets from shooting, and that's not how it was intended to be. So the turrets will now shoot the ice shield, and as the ice shield takes damage, the player who's casting the ice shield will lose mana. And that's how it was intended to be, and that's how it's going to be. And like I said, I use that method, but strictly to wipe a base that was built in an unintentional game zone. And so that's all I'll mention for that. So now I'm just going to go through pretty much everything that's coming up in the patch. As I said, console, couple weeks still, hang tight. I do recommend hopping on now and starting to do some of the grind, if you can. But here we go. So siege turrets, and this is in no particular order, but all of these things will be rolled out in the console. Siege turrets now do 5 times damage to shields specifically. So warding obelisk of protection. If you're shooting a siege turret at it, it will now do 5 times the damage. For a shield, that means that it's going to drain mana. So this, when people talk about how OP this upcoming patches in regards to defense, well, let's think about it like this. Draining mana generators was not really a thing before. Now you can set up a siege base to shoot siege turrets at a base, and if it's just shooting the shield, it's doing 5 times damage. It is going to be sucking mana if you set it up right. So we have to change the strategy of how we're raiding now, and that's important. Now, if it's within a Raider Stone, then it's going to do up to 25 times damage to shields. So before, Yeah, and I like this idea because, like I've said before, we don't really have a mechanism for soaking turrets in this game. This is like kind of the opposite of soaking generators. You want to have a warding obelisk on your base, and so for that, someone can set up a siege overpoint and just aim siege turrets at your base to shoot on your warding obelisk. And if they have a Raider Stone active, 25 times damage, 10 of those siege turrets going. It's not a lot of damage, as you know, at one times, but 25 times damage for anything is a lot of damage. 25 times damage of just a wolf in the wild. One wolf, you can just sit there and take it all day. 25 wolves, no. So you have to consider that is a huge multiplier. So I think that we're going to see a lot of siege turret, overwatch points, shooting onto shields to drain generators. We'll see what happens. Minor adjustments to boss caves, prevent unintentional behavior, reduce Raider Stone activation time from 6 to 4 hours due to popular demand. Also, since the raid windows are shorter, that makes sense. 4 hours. I mean, it gives someone enough time to wipe the fob, which I like. Slight increase, no build volume outside of the Crystal Cave to curb griefing. Oh, okay, so yeah, the build zones, I don't know if you've ever tried to build in a cave or outside of a cave, but there's a cutoff of how close you can build to a cave, and so that's interesting. Tuned healing spells to compensate for removal of PvP multiplier. So this says that healing spells should be more effective overall. We'll see. Minor tweaks to some item rarities. Grounded the flying large dragon in Dragonheart Citadel due to a bug with its aerial flight path. Okay, so that's one of the boss caves. So I guess they made a change to that. Aesthetic changes, better particle stuff. Some stuff with dyes, which we don't have yet. This is the most recent PC patch. Tighten the mana generator collision profile. So that I would take that as in you can put things closer to a mana generator is what I would think before it collides. Or maybe you can walk closer to a mana generator. I'm just reading through a couple things. Cave entrance effects for amethyst geodes to lessen light leading through the distance. That might be right. I'm not sure, but right now, if you fly out of range of an amethyst cave, it'll just be an empty hole in the world. So that might be what that is. I'm not sure. Let me read through some of this. Fixed issue with player collision size. Disabled stealth spells in boss cave. That makes sense, actually. I've never even thought to use stealth in the boss cave, but that makes a lot of sense. That way you can't skip the ads. Fixed sanctuary spell, and I think that's what we talked about earlier. Inadvertent issue where PvP multiplier was being applied to healing spells. Okay, so I guess maybe I'm not sure, but it sounds like maybe it was buffing a healing spell. The PvP multiplier healing pools and shields are now functioning correctly. Healing pools and shields now function correctly, especially on high populated servers. Not sure what the issue was there. Fixed attack big structure cooldown. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not sure, but it sounds like they're fixing things. So let's go to the original patch. That was some of the stuff that came out in the hotfix for PC. Let me just see if there's anything else. Fixed siege turret projectiles not detonating. Okay. Structure ownership is better resolved. Okay, I'm not sure. Some of the stuff it seems really technical. We don't need to get into. Let's get into the original patch. Quest-based storyline, we talked about that. Creature loot generation, talked about that already. New die system, we talked about that. Added new general side quests. Raid time of day protection, we talked about that. Added haste as a second spell. I don't think we talked about that, but apparently the left mouse or the left trigger, or excuse me, right click on mouse, left trigger on gamepad is going to be a haste for horses, which no one uses horses, but I don't know. That might be kind of cool. That might be kind of fun to play with. We talked about siege turrets doing more damage. So it takes 5 hours now to take out one siege turret, one marble wall, 5 hours. Obviously, you want more than one. Before it was 8 hours, so they've made it a little quicker, which makes sense with the raid timers. We talked about Raider Stone, siege generator nerf Siege energy nerfed for 4 spells. Concentrated Storm, Blizzard, Geyser, and Arcane Storm. Siege energy... Oh, duh. We talked about this already. You get 7 casts out of any of those spells I just mentioned when you put siege damage on it. So you only get 7 casts from what I've seen on PC. Healing spell adjustments. Healing Aura now provides buff-based spell. Nature Beam. Tracks Owl. Oh, that's cool. It track... Okay. Adjusted... I guess tracks allies. That would be kind of like conduction, I imagine. Adjusted healing projectile for better use and provides a small... I've never used a healing projectile. Have I used that before? I'm not sure. Might have to look into that. Adjustment made to Nexus Stone recipe. I think they're making it easier to make a Nexus Stone. Don't quote me, though. But I think I read something on Discord about that. Add a chance of milk to protein transmitter. We talked about that, I think, which will be nice. Drop natural resource spawn time. Oh, this is important. Drop natural resource respawn time for most resources by roughly 50%. So you know how before you'd go to farm Earsight or Amethyst, like the 2 biggest things that are never there when you go to farm them, they're going to respawn quicker now. So that's good. And we'll see. I mean, that's got to make a huge difference because even now with the low population, it's still hit or miss trying to go out and farm those resources. Okay, and this is double 3rd tier turret power and upgrade cost. So you're getting increased damage, but increased cost as well. Upgrade now, so it carries over into the patch. Okay, if you're on console, if you're on PC, sorry. New flight trinkets costs are they weigh differently in the hierarchy now. I haven't seen it, so I can't talk to it, but it'll be one of the first things I look at because flying is a huge thing for me in this game. So I look forward to checking that out. Double 3rd tier turret. Oh, we already talked about it. Increased projectile speeds of arcane, fire, light, and ice spells. So projectile, which is one of the spell schools, they increase the speed of projectiles, which is good. That's a good thing. Projectiles should be a thing. And so if they increase the speed, that means that you have a better chance of hitting your target. And I look forward to single target spells being more useful in this game instead of just relying on large AoE pools to hit your target. Let's go to the next page. Let me read through this real quick. Fix concentrated storm, spell blocking NPC movements and projectiles. I haven't seen that. I didn't know about that. That concentrated storm was blocking NPCs. Decrease the cost of some stuff. Increase critical chance, critical damage, and speed for dark projectile. Which dark projectile? I'm trying to think. I think that's like the ball that you shoot out. It's like a really ugly looking evil ball. So I'll have to check that out. Let me continue to read. Oh, Giant Eagle combat. Don't even get me started, including spells and tornado balance. Giant Eagle. On console, still useless to tame except to get around easily, but it has less. It has the same weight but less stamina. Its attacks don't work most of the time, so I like the Giant Eagle. It's just pretty useless. So we'll have to see that if this patch fixes the Giant Eagle. Adjustments made to cooking recipe rarities. Adjustments made to crowberry wine. Hopefully that's good. Crowberry wine. If you don't know, crowberry wine is one of the recipes to craft indigo gear, and if you've been playing this game long enough, you know that you have to craft a lot of gear to get the magic properties that you're looking for. Reduce rare material requirements to some high-level gear and flight trinket recipes. Okay, that's good. Less rare. Yeah, that makes sense because it's the same thing. Gear, magic properties, flight trinkets, you're trying to get reduced cost. And so you end up crafting a bunch, and then when you don't get what you want, it sucks. Okay, this is important. This one's important. Tripled Barkskin base armor amount and having the % armor increase. So Barkskin now, this sounds like a buff, but it's really a balance. It's going to essentially give you more basic armor from just having the skin on. So let's say you don't have any gear on. You just pop the Barkskin. You're going to get a set amount of basic armor. And this is good for early game. But in the late game, the percentage increase on your current armor is going to be less. So like right now, if you have like 200 something armor, you pop Barkskin and you have like 800 armor. It makes you godly. Bark Skin's OP for late game. So what this is going to do is make it better for early to mid game, and it's not as good for late game. But I'll have to see. We'll have to test that out. That'll be another thing we'll test. Let me read through here. Drop maximum value of top 4 leech ingredients by 1% each. Maximum value of top 4. So I'm guessing that means if it's something that has 4% leech, it'll go to 3% leech. We'll have to look at that as well. Loot adjustments. Double HP for NPCs in the spirit. Oh, God. I've been hearing so much hate about. So they've increased the HP of NPCs in these boss caves, which generally people are already having trouble running the bosses. And so it's interesting that they're making it harder to run through to kill the trash mobs prior to the boss. Reduce tornado cast time by Phoenix's boss by 20. So it's going to take less time to cast the tornado by the Phoenix boss, which is, for most people, it's going to be a one-shot already. So that's kind of interesting that they're making it even harder. I knew about this already. I haven't talked about it, but yeah, some people have been complaining about it. Increase most boss NPCs' walking movement speeds. So they're basically making the dungeons harder. Buffed boss-only gear quality. So they're buffing the gear you get, but I've heard that it's still not worth it. That's what I've heard. We'll have to look at it once the patch comes out. Increased NPC HP for creatures over level 40, which they needed. Like a level 60 demonic imp has, what, 7,000 HP? So, yeah, higher level creatures will have more HP, and they should. They rightfully should. Slight reduction in Blizzard spell radius. So Blizzard, before you could hold it and it would increase bigger, 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 and get really big. We'll have to see how big it is now, because I haven't seen anybody do anything on that on PC. Titan RNG damage, range of Arcane Storm and Blast, and they will likely provide a bit less damage, but be far more consistent. Yeah, so people before, especially in PvP, they're using Arcane Blast, which is that ability that just blasts energy out all around you, because if you got a high crit on that, it was like you could one-shot somebody. It was crazy. And so now they're just narrowing the gap, so you do consistent damage. Which nothing arcane should be that crazy, because unless you put siege damage on it, arcane is unlimited, because it doesn't require resources to cast. Arcane should be the weakest tree. Arcane Blast shouldn't be one-shotting people. Arcane Storm shouldn't be jacking people up that bad. And then, of course, if you put siege on it, then it has spell energy. Let's see. Looking through. World adjustment made to world chest spawned non-boss weapons recipes. No, I mean, I'm guessing that means that it's going to change. Adjustment made to world chest spawn non-boss weapon recipes. But if it's chest spawn, what is I don't get it. You guys will have to fill me in on that one. I don't get it. Adjustments made to Mystical Conjurer. Don't get upset here. Adjustment made to Mystical Conjurer item generation to reduce the best gear drops by about 25%. Mystical Conjurers are going to produce less good gear. Sorry, guys. I mean, I know a lot of people just use it to break stuff down. But, I don't know. Mystical Conjurers, they suck so much mana. And they're they're rather difficult to craft, in the early late game until you start getting a bunch of them and they generate resources to craft themselves. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Slight increase unicorn blood drops on creature. Oh, sorry. I completely botched that. Unicorn blood drop increase. Okay. Let me look through some of this stuff. Trajectory preview for siege turret projectiles. Toggled using the build menu. Oh, thank God, because before if you've ever used siege turrets, you have to aim them at what you want to shoot at, and before you just had to guess and wait for the projectile to go, and it was just really annoying. I'm just going to skim through some of the stuff that doesn't matter too much. If you want to see any of this, just look at the Steam website for Citadel Forged with Fire, and it has all these patch notes. Storm, lightning, adjusted distance fade on natural marble material. Improved mesh collisions for turrets to reduce occurrence of them firing and hitting themselves. Okay. That makes... I'll have to look at that. It sounds like if you put like a turret a little bit into the mesh, that it'll shoot, but it'll blow up on itself because it's hitting the mesh. So we'll have to see. Just looking through some of this stuff. Minor adjustments to world creature spawn locations. Some of this stuff is a lot of cave stuff. That's just minor tweaks. Loot. Technical fixes. Fix a griefable hole. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about. Griefable hole in lagoon plus blocking volumes and no build, as this area was griefable. There's a hole in the lagoon right now that it's very difficult to see unless you're looking for it. That you can basically, it's like a person-sized hole that you can build a base inside of. It's really annoying. Hey, buddy. And then it also looks out and you can grief people. It's really annoying. That guy's rating. I'm gonna go check it out. Continuing. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, it's on your roof. It's on your roof. Reduced frequency of Phoenix and Infernal Dragon sounds. Please, God, let them reduce the amount the Phoenix makes noises when it's shooting fire. Problem, buddy. Apply boost to players attempting boss crypts in single player mode. Hey, for the guy asking about, I guess he's single. He's playing solo, but he's unofficial. So no, that wouldn't work. But if you're playing single player, I guess it's easier to do the boss. So if you want to have the experience or you want to practice, go to single player. There's a lot of technical fixes. You can't blink into rocks now, which people are using to mesh. Improved farming for controllers, perfect, because a lot of people play on controllers on gamepads. Reading through, boost the players attempting boss crypts and single. Oh, we just said that. You can name storage chests. Oh, you're going to be able to name storage chests. Awesome. Rename tamed creatures. Good. Before, a lot of times for me, it was just GGGGG. Fixed item duplication issue that could occur while saving. Interesting. Didn't know about that. It's a dupe. Some sort of dupe thing that they're fixing. General server performance. Good. Fix a number of cheating security holes. Ooh, turret radius has been doubled. Oh yeah, turret radius doubled, guys. And they use prediction. So now, if a regular flame dragon is flying by your base and the turrets are shooting and constantly missing the dragon, that's not going to happen anymore. Quest journal tab in the event log. Fix an issue where NPCs falling out of the world could crash the server. What? Pounce no longer changes your movement mode after using it unless flying. What other movement mode would you have besides flying? You can't use Pounce mounted. Maybe people were using Pounce to raid underwater bases, I believe. Pounce does not thick traces to avoid going through things it shouldn't. Okay, I guess people were using Pounce to blink through stuff. Throw in places is on cooldown after placing one. Good. Players are able to build in their own structures while it's under attack. Cooldown. Oh, huge. So you destroy a wall. Boom. They build a wall. Now there's a cooldown. Perfect. Storage panel. Remain sorting after sorting it. Fixed an issue where the Eagle's tornado would not affect other creatures. Yeah, that's what we talked about. It's pretty useless. Just reading through. Bloodlust and Barkskin are no... You can't stack Bloodlust and Barkskin, so you can't have increased armor and HP at the same time now. Nerfed XP given when players are killed to account for power leveling attempts. Oh, I guess they were killing... They were just like setting up and killing other players for XP and farming that instead of actually doing something, which is definitely... If you've played video games, you know that that's cheating. It's like Call of Duty killing, feeding your friends to up their KD. Same thing. Fixed treasure achievement. Also, there's a log. There's going to be a house log. You'll see everything that's going on. Players under 30 no longer receive bleed damage from higher level players. Oh, I guess there was a workaround that even if you can't hit level 30 players, if you had bleed on your spell, it would bleed them and kill them. Let me look through a little more. Added red quest markers to show that the particular quest is a main story quest. Fixed an issue where players could log in and their tames would be invisible. My girlfriend had this a lot on her regular PlayStation. I didn't really experience it on my Pro because I'm a Pro. Just kidding. But yeah, she had a lot of issues with that on her legacy PlayStation, as we'll call it. Fixed an issue where players wouldn't take damage from defense towers while sitting in health or mana pools. Did not know that. All right, that's it for the most part, guys. I read through all the notes. This is probably going to be a really long video. I hope you stuck around. If you have questions, please ask. We're looking forward to this update. So just a recap of outside of the technical fixes, huge things in this update. One, raiding is completely changing. There's going to be raid timers local to your server time. I have the times written down, but I don't know them off the top of my head. But basically during high population times, during the weekdays, and then pretty much all day, and for the most of the evening on weekends. Siege damage is being, not siege damage. Turret damage is being increased. Turret range is being doubled. Turret tracking is a thing now. That it wasn't a thing before, so turrets will now track. Huge buff to turrets. It's going to be much more difficult to just sit there and get hit by turrets. With the changes to raid timers, Raider Stone is going to be, it's going to take 4 hours now. I think 4 hours to activate. Siege towers will now do 5 times damage to shields, but if they're within the radius of a Raider Stone, 25 damage to shields. That's going to, so if they break through your shield, that means your generators are kaput. So that's going to be huge on draining generators. You get about 10 siege turrets shooting at a shield with a 25 times damage bonus, and you're going to burn through some generators. Generators run your turrets. They run your shields. They run your reformation stones. All the things you need to protect your base when you're not there to physically protect it yourself. Creatures will now generate loot that you tame, so they'll generate loot relevant to the type of creature they are. Quests, new quest line, which we'll have to see how that goes. I've heard mixed reviews on the quest line, so I'll be testing that as soon as it comes on console. Those are all the big things, I believe. Some of the exploits are being fixed. No more ice shield to stop turrets from shooting. They'll shoot and drain mana. No more stacking sanctuary, and a few changes to healing spells. That's the main recap. If you have questions, post them below. Please subscribe, whether you're a fan of the channel or you're not. If you're watching the videos, all I ask is that you subscribe, like, dislike, whatever you want. But we're a community, and that's what it's all about. We want to get better together. Comment below, and until next time, thanks for watching.